Welcome back to Everyday AI Made Simple. Today we're breaking down a 42-page paper published by Microsoft Research a couple of weeks ago on a study they performed. The paper is named Working with AI, Measuring the Applicability of Generative AI to Occupations. 42 pages is a lot, and who has time for that? That's why I'm breaking it down for you, including the jobs they found have the most tasks completed by AI and the ones with the least amount of tasks completed by AI. This is an important distinction because lots of people are using AI to help them complete tasks. But this shows us where AI has been successful in actually doing the task instead of just assisting a person in completing the task. Grab your drink of choice and let's get into it.
Today, we're going to tackle one of the biggest questions out there. We're cutting through all the hype and all the noise to get to the hard data. This explainer is all about AI, your job, and what's really going on. Let's get into it. I mean, this is it, right? This is the question that's on everybody's mind. It's this mix of excitement, but also a little bit of anxiety. It's just impossible to ignore. Is this incredible new technology a partner, or is it a replacement? Well, instead of just guessing, we're going to look at the evidence. So, our case file for this whole investigation is a really important study from Microsoft Research. They looked at a huge data set. We're talking 200,000 real anonymized conversations between actual users and a generative AI. So this isn't about what AI could do in some lab. Nope. This is about what people are already doing with it right now in the real world. Okay, so to crack this case, the researchers needed a kind of secret weapon, a core insight that completely changes how we look at every single one of these AI interactions. And honestly, it's a brilliant way to frame this whole issue. And here it is. It's actually pretty simple. Every single conversation can be split into two parts. First, there's the user goal. That's the big picture thing the human wants to get done. Then there's the AI action. That's the specific little task the AI is actually asked to do to help. And here's the key. They are often not the same thing. That difference, that's everything. Let's make this crystal clear with a super simple example from the paper. So your user goal is to operate office equipment. Really, you just want to print a document, right? But the AI action isn't printing it for you. The AI is training you to use the equipment by giving you the steps. See that? It's a huge difference. The AI isn't replacing you, it's empowering you. And that distinction is the key to this entire thing. So, with this insight, the researchers built a metric they call the AI Applicability Score. Just think of it like a ranking system for every job out there. And it's not just about what AI can do, it measures three different things. 1, how often do a job's tasks pop up in these real-world AI chats? 2, how good is the AI at doing those tasks? And 3, how much of the whole task can the AI actually help with? It's a really thorough way to measure what's actually happening. All right, so now that we have our framework, let's follow the digital footprints. I mean, with 200,000 conversations to look at, some really clear patterns start to show up. So what are people really using these powerful new tools for, day in and day out? So when you look at the user goals, what people are trying to get done, the top 3 are super clear. Number 1 is just getting information. Basically, using AI as a kind of super-powered search engine. Number 2 is writing and editing, everything from drafting an email to polishing up a big report. And number 3 is communicating, just figuring out the best way to get a message across. Now, let's flip that. Let's look at the AI actions. What role is the AI actually playing in all this? And this is fascinating. The most common roles are providing info and assistance, acting as a teacher or a trainer, and serving as an advisor or a coach. You see the pattern? The AI is consistently playing a supporting role, not the lead role. And here it is. Here is the number that just ties it all together. In a staggering 40% of all those conversations, the AI's action was completely different from the user's ultimate goal. That is a massive, massive indicator that people are using AI to augment their skills, not just to automate them away. But of course, AI isn't perfect, right? The user feedback in the study gives us a really clear report card. People give it a big thumbs up for things like writing, editing, and researching. But it gets a thumbs down for more complex stuff like deep data analysis and especially for visual tasks like design. This really shows us where the limits are right now. It's great with language, but still pretty weak when it comes to complex analysis and visual creativity. Okay, this is the moment we've been building up to.
We've got the framework, we've got the data. Now we can apply that AI applicability score and create the lineup. Which jobs are really on the front lines of this huge technological shift?
So, before we get to specific job titles, let's look at the broad categories. The highest scores are in fields you might expect, like computer jobs and office support. But look at the others: sales, community and social service, and even arts and media. These are all fields that rely heavily on communication and processing information. And now for the specific jobs. Interpreters and translators are at the very top of the list, which, makes sense given AI's language skills. But look at some of these others that might surprise you. Historians, they spend their lives gathering and interpreting info. Then you have writers, customer service reps, and even passenger attendants and ticket agents. They're all constantly providing information and assistance.
So here's the crucial point. The common thread here isn't about replacing people. It's about a high overlap with the tasks that AI is currently best at: communicating, digging up information, and working with language. These jobs are the most applicable for an AI partnership, which is not the same thing as replacement. Okay, now let's look at the complete opposite end of the spectrum, the jobs with the lowest AI applicability scores. They're almost all physical, hands-on professions. We're talking about dredge operators, roofers, massage therapists, phlebotomists. These jobs require a physical presence and skilled interaction with the real world that, frankly, a language model just doesn't have. So we've seen the evidence, we've looked at the lineup, now it's time to kind of zoom out and deliver the final verdict. What are the big takeaways for the future of work, according to this massive real-world data set?
First up, let's talk about money. There's this common fear that AI is coming for all the high-paying knowledge worker jobs. But this data kind of throws cold water on that idea. The researchers found only a very, very weak link between how much a job pays and its AI score. So a high salary does not automatically mean high AI exposure.
Well, what about education? Here, the data shows a bit of a clearer link. Jobs that require a bachelor's degree do have a slightly higher average AI score, and that's probably because they involve more of those communication and information tasks AI is good at. But it's not a perfect predictor of AI impact by any means.
And to put all of this into perspective, the researchers point to a classic example, the ATM. Everyone thought ATMs would get rid of bank tellers. They automated a core task, giving out cash. But guess what actually happened? The number of tellers went up. Banks opened more branches, and tellers were freed up to do more valuable work, like building relationships with customers. Technology changes jobs. It doesn't always just eliminate them.
And that really brings us to our final thought. After this deep dive into what's actually happening, maybe we've been asking the wrong question this whole time. The evidence suggests the question isn't this passive, fearful thing like, will AI take my job? It's something much more active, and I think much more empowering. How will I use this powerful new tool to reinvent what I do, to focus on what really matters, and to become even more valuable? Now that is the real question for the future of work.
That's a wrap. If you want more of this type of content, hit subscribe so you'll get notified when I post new videos. Thanks for watching.